Okay. So there are four products, W, X, Y, Z. Output and cost data for the period just ended are as follows. Now they have provided you the data. Now you can see for W, we have produced 10 units, right? Output units, you can see this on. For X, we have produced 10, for Y, 100, and for Z, 100. And now he has given you some cost drivers. Now, the first thing they have provided you is the number of production runs in a period. How many production runs in a period for particular product. So for W, they need to run 2 production runs in a period. For X, 2, Y, 5, and for Z, 5. Now, this is very important because we need to understand that how many production runs are required in a particular period for a specific product. Then we have material cost per unit. So for W, if you need to produce 1 unit. No, this is production runs. Production runs mean how many, it's a process now. So how many processes you are required for producing this? So in order to produce 1 unit of W, you need to incur $20 as a material cost. To produce 1 unit of X, you need to incur $80. To produce 1 unit of Y, you need to incur $20. And to produce 1 unit of Z, you need to incur $80. This is per unit material cost. Okay, how many direct labor hours per unit are required? So in order to produce 1 unit of W, you have to work 1 direct labor hour. In order to produce 1 unit of X, you need to incur 3 direct labor hours, right? For Y, 1, and for Z, 3. And again, how many hours are required for machine to work to produce 1 single unit? For W, we need to work only 1 hour, machine hour. For 1 unit of X, we need to work 3 machine hours. For your 1 unit of Y, we need to work 1 machine hour. And for the Z, per unit, we have to work 3 machine hours. Now you can clearly see, if you talk about from production runs point of view, X and W both are consuming less as compared to Y and Z. Is this clear? So if we consider the production runs, we can see that Y and Z are consuming more. But if we consider the material cost, now you can see that W and Y, they are consuming less material cost, right, per unit. But X and Z, they are consuming more. Now, if you have a look at direct labor hours per unit, W and Y, they are consuming 1 direct labor hour, whereas X and Z, they are consuming 3, and same as for machine hours, right? So what is the difference between absorption costing and activity-based costing? In the absorption costing, we just take all the overheads and we use only simple absorption base, like maybe direct labor hours or machine hours. And I've told you that we normally use absorption costing for a small or medium customer. But when we go for ABC costing, we need to have a detailed look on every activity so that we can allocate overheads on the basis of the activity runs, right? So if you further look at the question, it says that direct labor cost per hour is $5. Okay. Then we have overhead costs. Now we have 4 overhead costs. Short-run variable cost, we have 3080. Then we have setup cost, expediting and scheduling cost, and material handling cost. And the total overhead is 30,800, right? It is given in the question. Now he says that prepare unit cost for each product using conventional costing and ABC. So we need to look into the detail that how can we handle this by using ABC and. So let me open Excel so that we can work in Excel clearly. CMA part 1 ABC. Okay. Now we have this question with us. Right, sir? Yes. Okay. So if we have this question and we use simple, what we call absorption costing. So in absorption costing, we only take the rate, overhead absorption rate, right? So while following absorption costing, so we have WX, Y, and C, right? And then we have total as well. So it will be dollars. Okay, first we take material cost. How much material cost is incurred? Just have a look at the question. It's $20 per unit, right? And how many units you are going to produce? 10 units, right? So we consider units here. So for W we produce 10, for X we produce 10 units, for Y we produce 100, and for Z we produce 100 units, right? So total we will produce how much? 220 units. Now material cost per unit, we have in the question 20, 80, 20, 80. So we can take total material, right? Total. Okay, rather we should write first. Okay. Then we have direct labor hours. How many hours we need to work? 1, 3, 1, 3, right, sir? And then we have machine hours. So we have the same data. And how many direct labor hours? Direct labor cost per hour, right? It is given in the question. It is straightforward 5, 5, 5, 5. So if I write direct labor cost per unit, then how can I calculate it? Yeah, it is given. Here it is $5. Right? Yes. Now it was per hour. Now, if we need to find out direct labor cost per unit, how would we find out? You need to multiply this by direct labor hours. Am I right? This one. So this will give you per unit cost, right? Per unit direct labor cost. Is this fine, sir? Now we take total material cost. Total material cost. And how do we find it total material cost? Per unit material cost multiplied by number of units. So $200 for W $800 for X, 2,000 for Y, and 8,000 for Z. And how do we calculate total labor cost, total direct labor cost? It will be per unit multiplied by number of units. So 50 for W, 150 for X, 500 for Y, and 1500 for C. And the third thing we will add is overheads. Overheads. Now for this, we need to work it down. Now the question, it says that how many total we have? 3080. This is total variable cost, right? Or if we just check question again, it says yeah. So he says that using a conventional absorption costing, we use either direct labor hours or machine hours. So we can take any one. He has given us the choice. So we need to find out overhead rate here, right? Rather, I should write here. Insert. Okay, first I will find the overhead absorption rate. Overhead absorption rate, right, sir? So how do I calculate? Total overheads divided by total direct labor hours. Total direct labor hours. And how many direct labor hours you need to work total? First you calculate here total direct labor hours, right? So we need, this is labor hour per unit. And we need to multiply it with number of units, right? So here we can take the sum. No, sorry, I'm making mistake here, maybe. So this is the labor hours, right? One labor hour for one unit. And here 3 for one unit. So I should multiply this. This is the labor hour, no? Multiply by 10. Yes. So it will give you total sum. This column this. Right, sir? So this is your total direct labor hours. Now need to calculate the overhead absorption rate. So it will be given in the question 30,800, which is the total overheads divided by this 440. So it gives you 70. And that is constant for every month. 70, 70, 70. Now this absorption rate is $70 per direct labor hours. Now if we calculate here total overheads, total overhead cost, then how many direct labor hours we work here? $10, right? Multiply by 10. So we need to consider only these three because these three are the main components. So total cost will be is equal to sum. And this is the total cost. 950 for X, 30504, sorry, 950 for W, 30500 for X, 9500 for Y, and 30500 for Z. And if we find per unit cost, then how do we find it? Divide this total by number of units. So that is how we will calculate it. $95 per unit cost for W, 305 per unit cost for X, 95 per unit cost for Y, and 305 per unit cost for Z. Now, the important thing, if you compare this per unit cost with the number of units, then you can clearly understand what is going on. Now, if you need to produce 10 units, you have to incur $195 per unit. And if you need to produce 100 units for Y, again, per unit cost is how much? 95. But if you look X and Z, their patterns are same. If you produce 10 units of X, it is still costing you 305 per unit. And if you are producing 100 units of Z, it is still costing you how much? 305 per unit. Now, is there any question? Just reflect your insights, just pay attention. And if you think that there is a question regarding any calculation, you can ask. No, this is complete absorption. Whatever I have done is complete absorption. Yeah, total, not ABC. Now we are going to work out ABC. The main point is calculate overhead absorption rate and then apply to every unit. So we do not believe in activities in absorption costing. But while going for ABC costing, then we have to understand, we have to capitalize every activity, right? Okay, now when we move for ABC, now you can see that here he has given you the complete detail of overhead cost in the question. He says that short-term variable cost is 3080, so we can divide it by the direct labor hours. But if you have a look at this setup cost, so what is the driver of setup cost? It will be number of production runs, right? If you run 2 production runs, you have to incur setup cost 2 times. Now for Y, you need to run how many production runs? 5. So you have to incur this setup cost 5 times. Is this clear? Expediting and scheduling cost, again, it depends upon production run. And material handling cost, again, it depends upon production runs, right? Now, let us move to ABC costing so that we can understand it more better. And then finally, we will compare absorption costing with ABC, inshallah, right? Okay, if you talk about ABC costing now, ABC, the first portion of material and direct labor cost is extremely same. There is no change in that. So there is no change in material and labor cost. But when we talk about overheads, then we have some calculations. Overhead cost. So first of all, we need to find out short or run variable costs. Right, sir? And how much is the total? 30. 80. Okay, and that is allocated on the basis of direct labor hours. Now, how many total direct labor hours we have for 40? Right? I mean, this is directly given in the question. So we can use this information here as well. Right. Right, sir? So the short run cost will be, how much is that? Is equal to 3080 divided by 440 multiply by 10. Because how many hours we are consuming for W? Only 10 hours. So 70 will come here. And then for 3080 divided by 440. This will give you per labor hour cost and multiply by 30. Because we are consuming 30 labor hours to produce W, X, Y, Z. Okay, now again, 3080 divided by 440 multiplied by 100. That gives you short-term cost for Y. And again, 3080 divided by 440 multiplied by 300. It gives you. Now the sum should be equal to 3080, right? Sum. Now you can see it is 3080. Now we have divided the short-term variable cost on the basis of direct labor cost. Right, sir? Okay. So if we talk about production runs, how many production runs are in total? 40. And for W, we have to run 2 twice, for X twice, for Y 5, and for Z 5. Now, what is the relevant cost? Now, first of all, we have setup cost. Setup cost. How much is the setup cost? 10920, right? Divided by how many total production runs? 14. And how many we run for W? 2 is equal to 10920 divided by 14 multiply by again 2. So you can see that we are producing 10 units for W and 10 units for X, and both are consuming same production runs because both are consuming 2 production runs. 10920 divided by 14 multiplied by 5, it gives you 3900, and again 10920 divided by 14 and multiplied by 5. So the total should be equal to what? 10920, right, sir? Then we have next expediting and scheduling cost. So it will be also based on production run. So how much is the total? 9100 divided by 14 multiplied by 2. 9100 divided by 14 multiplied by 2. Then 9100 divided by 14 multiply by 5, right, sir? And again 9100 divided by 14 multiply by 5. So again, the sum should be equal to 91, right, sir? And finally, we have materials handling cost. So the total is how much? 7700 divided by 14 multiply by 2. So the sum should be equal to this. So the total cost will be is equal to sum this will be total cost. And how many units we have produced? So per unit cost will be this divided by this. Now, how would you analyze it? 7. 428, 512, 131, and 215. Yes. How would you analyze it now? Yes, my dear. Now just compare it now. Can we compare? Now this is absorption. Absorption. Costing, right? And ABC. I will copy, paste. Sorry. Yes. This is ABC and this is absorption. Now, how would you analyze it regarding WXYZ? Difference. For product X, it is charging more, right? 333 more as compared to absorption. When we did it for ABC costing, it is costing 333 per unit more as compared to absorption costing. X, it is also costing to